Good. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian O'Connell. I'm the superintendent of the Litchfield School District, and this is the one meeting of the year that I get to call to order here. So I ask that everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Should have had one of the kids lead that. I'm going to remember that for next. Oh, thank you for the gavel. Here we go. I get to use it the one time. This is great. So review and revision of the agenda. I do have a couple of things, board, that I've added since Friday that I just want to make you aware of. And we'll go into this more detail when we get down to my report. But one, we've been working with the Litchfield Police Department on memorandum of understanding about our security cameras, and we were able to finalize that for both parties yesterday. So I snuck it here into the agenda just so that we can be proactive on kind of discussing it. We included actual procedures. We just had the bullet there, but there's a link now to the proposed Amazon PO procedures that are there. And then when we get down to new business, we added a hyperlink for our governing articles for Facilities Improvement Committee. So those have been some revisions to the agenda since Friday when we sent it out. Does the board have anything they want to adjust on the agenda this evening? Oh, excellent. All right. So our kind of first order of business is the school board reorganization. We kicked this off by welcoming our new school board members. So Mr. Dan Dewitt, welcome to the Litchfield School Board. We're super happy to have you here joining us on the board. And if everyone can give me a round of applause for Dan.
Thank you.
Usually it's tradition that the new board members give about a 5 to 10 minute speech at this time. So I don't know if you have any prepared words, anything that you want to say, or anything along those lines. Of course, I am kidding, but you are welcome to share anything.
It's new, it's interesting. I work in the corporate world and the private world, so this is like a whole new life to me. I have been working with the Facilities Improvement Committee for the last 11 months, 9 months, something like that, to try to help out. My daughter's in GMS, so it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to a challenge.
Yeah. And, you know, as a new school board member, we're here to help you. I know, Dan, just for transparency's sake, I reached out to you earlier, I think actually maybe tail end of last week, to welcome you aboard. And just so people know, when we have a new school board member on, we kind of go through a transition period with them. They come in and meet in the SAU, and we set them up with their email account, go over important policies that we use on a regular basis, just kind of the ins and outs of kind of school operations, how we go about setting the agenda and sending that out and everything kind of along those lines. So that's kind of part of the process when we have a new school board member kind of come along. Likewise, we start off this particular meeting, this first one of kind of the new year here in a way, by re-electing our positions here on the school board. So I'll do that in one moment, but just a couple other things to include. Dan, one of the links here is for New Hampshire School Board Association training as a new school board member. You know, these are all trainings you can kind of participate. Any of our board members can participate in these training, but you guys are vets here at this point. And if you need help signing up for any of that, Dan, we have services through the New Hampshire School Board Association. Obviously, the district does. Any that you want, just let us know, and we're happy to kind of set that stuff out for you. We'll also be going over committee assignments, and we'll go over that with everyone here shortly, and talking about code of ethics and code of conduct. We're waiting for Mr. Shoemaker to arrive. I was kind of vamping a little bit here, hoping that I could drive this out as long as I could. But we do have a meeting to kind of get to, so I am going to move forward, and I will ask if there's any nominations for school board chair.
I'll make a motion to nominate Andrew Cotter as school board chair.
Second.
All right.
He's not here, so he couldn't even be online today. He had a work training, so it was not obviously intentional. But I think the last year has gone really well. I think there's a good rapport on the board with Andrew at the helm. I think we've made some strides with, and maybe I can ad-lib enough to get Mr. Shoemaker here. There he is.
There he is.
We did it.
I said I was coming.
I told him. Anyway, regardless, I think Mr. Cutter will be a great chair. He has been a great chair, and another year with continuity, especially when there has been some changeover in positions and we have a change on the board, it would be good to have some continuity.
Excellent.
There's a first and a second for Andrew as chair. That's where we're at.
Any other discussion? Mr. Cutter did reach out because he knew he would be absent today to say that if he was nominated for chair or vice chair, and that was the will of the board and how the vote went, he would accept the position. So if there's no other question, if there's no other discussion this evening, I will call that to question. So I think we have to do roll call for this particular one. So Peter, I'll just start with you because you're on my left.
Aye.
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 Excellent. Carries 4-0. All right. So Mr. Cutter will continue as the chair of the Litchfield School Board. In his absence, I will now accept nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Heidi as vice chair.
Second.
Discussion, or Ms. Ames, would you be willing to serve this role if elected?
I would. Happy
right.
to do it. Thank you.
Hearing no other discussion, I will call the question to a vote. And again, I'll start with you, Peter.
Aye.
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 Excellent.
This is so much better.
Can you vote on yourself?
Just
All right, so the motion carries. So we have a chair and a vice chair. Mr. Carter will be our chair, and then Ms. Ames will be our vice chair. Continuation of where we've been, which selfishly, if I can just say, it's been a pleasure working with all of you, but particularly you guys in those two roles, and I'm happy to continue to work with everyone, and especially you guys in that role. I think we've done some great work here so far, and I'm happy to continue. And I am really, really happy now, Heidi, to pass this back to you and get out of the way of
today.
of running this meeting.
That's useless without that.
I've never, okay, there we go. I do have on here that we're going to get into the code of conduct and ethics and then committee assignments, but my thought would be, if the board is okay with it, that we go ahead and jump ahead in the agenda, so our little friends can be heard, and then maybe head out if they want to, or stay if you want to. We always want you to stay if you want to stay all night with us. We'd have lots of fun, but does anyone on the board have an issue with that?
No objection.
Okay. All right, so let's jump in, and we will have, scrolling down to presentations, middle school, let's see, LMS Wellness Day presentation. Is that what our friends are here for?
So, good evening, everyone. I have brought with me a crew here, and at the helm of this crew is the tallest one on the end over there. For those of you that don't know who our tallest crewmate here is, can I slide in for a second row right up here? Right up, there you go. Perfect. Jocelyn Bedricki, known as Miss B. Next year she will be transitioning to Mrs. Brooks, so luckily Miss B won't change, so they won't have to get confused, was the steward of this idea. We did a professional development day for all staff with a wellness theme in January, and when we came back to school that following Monday, she said, "That was awesome for staff. Wouldn't it be awesome for kids?" And she was a champ and arranged a pretty incredible day, which we're going to take a second to watch the video before our friends talk about what they experienced, because I think it's awesome to see. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the video, it's a brief little synopsis here. So take a look at LMS Wellness Day.
Wellness Day is the best day ever!
Awesome.
Great.
Very good. A lot of smiles.
You can imagine that it was a very popular day. I'm just going to speak for 33 seconds. As a principal walking around and talking to kids, they were engaged. There were 0 behaviors that day. The kids were all interested, and they're going to share a little bit about what they were interested in on the day. But it was, we had asked if it could be every Friday. I don't think we can do it every Friday, but we definitely will be bringing it back again next year. I'm going to start with Gabby as our 8th grade veteran here. She's got a little bit, she's going to start to say, just make sure you speak nice and loud and clear, and then we'll kind of just go down the row and then come across the front. Keep it quick, guys, okay? Ready?
What I liked was blackout poetry.
What'd you like about it?
I never got to try it before because I was too afraid to cut up books, so this was a nice experience.
Probably one of my favorite activities was bucket drumming. Doing it again instead of just at a concert was actually more interesting.
I probably like dodgeball because I do band instead of gym and art, so it's hard for me to kind of move and get myself out. So that was a really fun experience.
I like nail art because you learned a bunch of new techniques to work on nails. I like jewelry making because we could really make whatever jewelry we wanted. I really like nail art because I always make a mess, but there you can make a mess, and I also like therapy dogs. I liked friendship bracelets because I learned how to make a bunch of new bracelets.
I liked friendship bracelets because it was really fun and relaxing.
I liked meditation because it was really calming.
I liked science investigation because we made elephant toothpaste.
Were you brushing elephant's teeth?
No.
What was it?
It's it's like foam, and it explodes, kind of.
Very visually explodes for the kids. Justin, do you want to share anything else?
So like you saw, the kids had over 40 different workshops they could pick from. They were also required to go to one personal health session, so those included friendship and social skills, stress and anxiety, outdoor survival, different things to learn about themselves and help with new coping mechanisms, different things.
We know middle school can be a tough transition, and anxiety is a part of so many real life experiences for so many of our students. Building in these natural ways to cope and adjust and find things that are choice. I think the voice and choice was the best part of the day, that the kids got to pick where they were going to go throughout the day, and we can't always pick. We have to go to math, we have to go to language arts, we have to go to social studies, we have to go to science, and this was a great day to have. And keep your eye out because we may be asking for some school board representation coming up on May 16th. We're going to be having a career day, which has a similar vein to it. There's going to be choice for the kids to have. It's going to be We're gonna be inviting members of our community, so anybody around here that has a job that you think kids might like to hear about, we wanna start to broaden their horizons and think about what their future might be, because it might feel weird that it's really far away for 5th grade, but high school is just around the corner, so giving them that opportunity to start to learn about what jobs are out there, because when we ask them what they want to be when they grow up, we get a lot of, I don't know, sometimes we know, sometimes we don't. So that's coming soon. You guys are getting the first scoop on that. So, shh. Any questions for our kids or for Jocelyn? Excellent job, guys.
Good job.
Thank
Thanks
you.
thanks for coming. We can either stay in presentations or we can go back up to our committees. What are your thoughts?
I think we should stay in
Finish the
presentations,
presentations? That's my thought too. Ms. Grantham, are you ready to do middle school track coach? Are you with that
Can I
with
go with Tony on that
with
one?
Tony? Yeah.
Right, we get to follow that up.
It's always tough to follow up the kids.
I know.
They're the best.
This is also about wellness.
So I'm Tony Ramos. I am the district's athletic director, for those of you who I have not met yet. So we are requesting today a second assistant track position for LMS. They have 56 athletes this year, so it is a safety concern that they have adult supervision, especially when they're using heavy implements like the javelin and shot put. We plan to pay for it out of the Campbell High School supplies line.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board? No?
56 kids for track, that seems like a lot. Is that a record?
Our spring sports, we had over 200 participants in spring sports last year, because now that we've added lacrosse, so you have boys and girls lacrosse, you have boys baseball, girls softball, and track and field, and if there are kids that don't make those Fab Four, the first four, they absolutely are welcome to join the track. It's not a cut sport, so it just gives them an opportunity to compete against themselves, so it's just an opportunity, again, to do something to get that sense of belonging, to come and be part of our school and part of our representing those links. We encourage as much participation as we can, and I think the extra set of trained eyes and ears is helpful. There's always been wonderful parent volunteers, which I just want to second that's been, we've been appreciative that they've been there. But we've had incidents where kids have been injured or hurt, and because a way a track and field meet runs, they're spread out over a large distance, and it's hard for the coaches to get where that injury occurred, or it's a good safety component. So
Yeah, I'll echo that. We have Coach Ireland here with us too, our kind of head coach for the track program in the middle school. Yeah.
My average was 36 kids the last 2 years, so and really do want to help support the high school and grow this opportunity. We're actually only one of 3 schools in our division that has a track, so being able to actually have home meets and utilize that and do that. A small part of what I was going to say about just like budget wise is we are having 2 home meets, so that does take away from 2 bus expenditures. So I think that is also something to take into consideration as well.
The stipend's about $1,500 for this. It's not a significant thing, and like Tony mentioned, we think we can have this out of the CHS supplies line because we're for enough in the year where we've seen some other expenses that we didn't quite have as much on from the fall and winter seasons. So we feel comfortable we can cover it, and that it's important for the safety of our kids and just the continued development of them as athletes, right? And I think a big thing, if you've ever seen a middle school track meet, we hosted a big one in Bow at the high school that I know Litchfield has gone to, and it's a pretty popular one. You need as many hands on deck as possible when you're dealing with these numbers. So I think this is a recommendation for us as a board, and we're asking you to approve it this evening. So.
You guys have someone to fill it? Okay.
I mean, I think it's a safety concern. We definitely need to fill a position. I think it's important. Parent volunteers are amazing and great, and I'm sure fill in a lot of holes, but when it comes to safety and actually proper use of certain equipment, I think you mentioned the really heavy balls and the arrows that are flying through the air. It seems like a good idea. Yeah.
So is that you making a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the transfer from the CHS line to add a second assistant coach for middle school track.
Second.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes 4-0-0.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Miss Crowley here, our amazing
MVP
celebrity.
Wait a second. We have to formally introduce her. The presses.
That's right.
Director of the Year.
Excuse me.
All right.
Lauren
Yes,
Crowley.
yes,
so.
yes.
And I brought samples.
Oh, please tell me it's not shelf-stable yogurt.
It's not. Not this time.
I still have that in my drawer. You never know when you're really.
You never know when you're going to need it. These are an item we featured on National School Breakfast Week, which was not last week, the week prior maybe? I could be lying to you. I have no idea what day it is anymore. These are a chicken biscuit sandwich that we featured. Very popular. Here you go.
Oh, they're still warm.
They are still warm. I have ketchup if anyone wants ketchup, honestly.
Let's see.
I forgot to bring you a banana. Oh, I got everybody. Okay. So,
These
hi.
look
Oh,
really good.
I'm so ridiculous.
They are good. I've had these before.
Say that was it. Just present the food.
That's it. Bye. See ya.
Yeah, Dan, you didn't know this. We feed you at these meetings.
Yeah.
Like, that's great.
I will take it.
This has to go with my little presentation here. You can look at it at your leisure, or you can doodle on it. I don't really care what you do with it, but it's important to my presentation. Here you go.
Thank you.
Do you want the position paper? I don't have to. I'm just gonna leave you out of everything.
That's fine.
It's a good snack. I usually don't eat till after this.
Because I don't eat it. I lived it. I lived it. Okay. So, I'm here to present an update, which is my slideshow available?
Yep.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's fine. Priorities are priorities. So yeah, the chicken biscuit sandwich was probably one of the biggest sellers of National School Breakfast Week. Just a quick update on that while Mr. O'Connell gets the wonderful presentation that I've done for you up. We saw a real significant jump in breakfast participation that week and I just pulled random weeks otherwise, by about between 50 and 100 breakfasts a day. Sorry, for the week. So, we're going to be doing more initiatives like that, but that's another presentation. So I'm here tonight to present because, as many of you may know or may not know, recently from March 8th through the 11th, I was in Washington, D.C. with the School Nutrition Association New Hampshire chapter to participate in LAC, or the Legislative Action Conference of 2025. I'm going to start, and this is just a thing. This is completely different and above and beyond what my actual day-to-day job is. This is a completely voluntary organization. Myself and the Merrimack School District Food Service Director, his name is Dave Zicki. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's wonderful. He is our public policy legislative chair for the School Nutrition Association of New Hampshire. And he goes every single year. He's like on a first name basis with everybody, and I just tagged along this time. So I'm going to put out a wonderful disclaimer, just because I feel like with the way politics are and the political landscape of things, it's just important to just note that this is just based on my experience. I'm not pushing either side nor an agenda, but it's just going to reflect the core message that just is committed to school meals are and should remain a bipartisan priority, and that was probably one of the themes of the whole thing. No matter what your vision of the future of America looks like, at the end of the day, you got to focus on the kids and feed the kids. I won't sing Whitney Houston, sorry, and you're welcome, but so even though I was told I could, but I'm not going to. So just a quick overview of School Nutrition Association for those of you who may not know. It is a membership-based nonprofit organization. Many directors in the state of New Hampshire and across the board nationally are involved. The mission statement is to empower and support school nutrition professionals in advancing the accessibility, quality, and integrity of school nutrition programs. And there's national and state chapters, and we elect a board and an executive board via voting like many other organizations. And all expenses for this conference was paid through School Nutrition Association of New Hampshire. So this didn't come from the district, it didn't come from taxpayers, it came from SNA New Hampshire. And now on to the fun part. So this was my first time ever attending the LAC. There is 850 attendees, and they cut it off at 850. 48 states were represented. That was pretty cool. And the whole purpose is to meet with our lawmakers on our individual state levels and discuss talking points in the position paper, which I did pass out to all of you, in order to protect school meals based on what is happening on the bigger picture. And in regards to the school nutrition, the SNA national paper, in the fall, every single, they send out a survey to every single member. And basically it's like, what are your concerns? Whether it's, free meals, whether it's meal debt, whatever. And they take all of the information that comes back and compile it into like 3 or 4 talking points. Because obviously if you take every single one, we'd be here all night. So they take all of those and compile it all into the main paper, and that's what they send to us. Then we meet with the lawmakers in this conference. So just quickly, based on the talking points, which you can see in your paper, and actually it was interesting because I flew down on a Saturday, so obviously Friday I pack up, whatever. On Sunday, we had our first region meeting, which is the Northeast, and there was already changes to the paper just because of what had been happening in Washington. So that was exciting. So the main talking points in the paper are raising reimbursement rate, 40 more cents for lunch and 15 more cents for breakfast. We did have this previously, and it was the year after free meals for all had ended. We had that little extra gap, and then they cut that. So that was one of the talking points that we had. And just to give a bit of perspective, with this added amount, our program would still receive under $1 per paid kid. So even with the 40 extra cents for lunch, you're talking 91 cents we'd get back, and 56 cents back for breakfast, for paid families. The big piece of the talking points was protecting the CEP and the BBCE, which I will explain. CEP is community eligibility provision. We don't necessarily deal with this in New Hampshire. There's only a couple schools, but basically what that states is, at this point in time, if 25% of your district or like an individual school's population qualifies for SNAP, TANF, any kind of like direct certified benefits, you can write a waiver up, and your school and or district can get free meals. There are some other catches to that. The district does have to fund some of the opposite end of it. What's really important about protecting this is right now it's at 25%. They are proposing to raise it to 60%. So that would devastate, like the entire state of West Virginia would be completely devastated because they're all on CEP. Again, New Hampshire, we don't really have a lot of communities involved, and even the ones that we do have don't utilize it. But cutting that, and then the BBCE is the broad-based categorically eligible, which is again the food stamps, SNAP, TANF, homeless. They're proposing to cut that completely. So it was really a big push to protect those programs, even on the greater picture. Which if these are cut or if it is raised, we're talking 24,000 schools and about 12 million kids that this would affect nationwide. So it's kind of we're talking about $3 billion in cuts over 10 years to the National School Lunch Program. So kind of a big deal. And then the last part was addressing unpaid meal debt, which kind of all ties into anything anyway. My counterpart was saying that he has $24,000 in meal debt in Merrimack. We have about $2,000. We're very lucky, but it's a big problem. At one point in the state of New Hampshire, we were over $5 million in meal debt across the state. So it's kind of crazy. So it kind of, based on these, we met with our 4 people. So we did meet with Chris Pappas's office, Maggie Hassan's office, and Jean Shaheen's offices. We couldn't get an appointment at Goodlander, but she's new, and I'm sure it's kind of like overwhelming dealing with all of this, as a new congressperson. But we did provide information. We did meet with, we met him, like we accosted him in the hallway, like Chris Pappas. We were like, oh my God, hey, how's it going? And Maggie Hassan actually came and sat in our meetings with us and actually gave some really good talking points. But New Hampshire's great. All 4 offices were on board with supporting school meals. We didn't have an uphill battle to fight. A lot of other states did have an uphill battle to fight. So that was very interesting to talk to other people to see about that. All of our people were insanely supportive. And Hassan actually gave some really interesting insight into how the Senate is working with their votes. And she said, which was I was very happy to hear this, that there's more bipartisan support for protecting these school meals than there's not in the Senate level, which I thought was a very good thing to hear, that people want to make sure. And even I have a really good friend, she's from Kentucky, at the 11th hour got a call from Rand Paul's office. So I was like, you need to tell me, I need to know right now what happened. His assistants and staffers said he's gunning hard to keep protecting school meals and trying to get back to where we're federally funded. So that kind of provided a little bit of validation based on what Hassan had said to us in our meetings. Of course, we're all New Hampshire people. Everyone was super lovely. Even, we had and I'm going to say it because they are kids running DC, but we had people, they're like, oh, I'm from Londonderry, I'm from Hudson. So it was kind of cool to see everyone in like a small world situation. And just to move forward with next year. So obviously now I was like, at first I'm like, cool, free trip to DC, I'll do it, go on. And now I'm like, no, I have to go and I have to fight. So really psyched to be partnering again with my colleague from Merrimack. And we will be bringing much more to DC to leave with our lawmakers, whether we're looking into like photo books, we're looking into, one district said they did cards from the kids, like what school lunch means to them, just any kind of thing to make a connection instead of just bottom line facts. But really gunning hard to get back down there and really keep fighting to push these kind of in really important positions, even though, like I said, they may not necessarily affect New Hampshire, but nationwide, it's a big deal. So that was my trip to DC.
Wow.
If anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Questions from the
So
board?
I know not the direct focus of this, but did you happen to have any conversations with people from other states about self-funding? And what were you gathering from that?
Am I allowed to tell the story from the Arkansas lady?
A clean version.
Okay. So many states, and like I said, going back to the CEP, a lot of them are funded via CEP. I know Massachusetts, I think, has different taxes that break down into it. And one of them was this little lady from Arkansas who got up and was very excited because her state is offering free breakfast to everybody while it's not fully there. And she said they are taxation off of a certain substance that is not federally legal, but also is kind of also semi-legal in other places around us. I'm sure it starts with an M. It's great. Anyway, that was what they were funding their free breakfast off of. So I think it's just a matter of finding where the money can be diverted into. Again, CEP was a lot of it. Like I said, a lot of different taxation situations. And a lot of them took the money that they got from COVID, different states, and just funneled it into the school nutrition programs. And then now they're all self-sustaining, because they're just selling a ton of food. And, these kids are eating every day.
Is it going to be just me? You guys have questions? No?
It's my first day.
We gotta ease them in.
This is just a statement.
You keep asking questions. I'm fine.
I actually don't have any more questions. This is just a statement because I'm going to say it every time you come here.
Okay.
You go above and beyond, and it's incredible. And I really appreciate what you do. I mean, taking initiative like this and bringing it back to us is a huge benefit to our district. That's not something that's necessarily required of you.
Right.
But I very much appreciate what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you.
That's why
She's director.
That's why I'm director of the year.
Toss.
I actually did hear from Doug Totten. He said everyone must address me as that for the next month.
Oh, wow.
And you must make everyone address it. And I was like, right, got it. So, Thank you, I do appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the support across the board, from the board, so. We do
The
good
chicken
stuff.
biscuit was great, by the way.
Great, I'm glad you
Yes,
enjoyed it,
it was
yeah.
good.
It's a very solid option.
I do think we should make sure this is included in our minutes, if we
Yeah.
can, because, you know, going to the self-funding, when it's talking about literally in this position paper, virtually all meal program directors cited challenges with the cost of food and labor. Only 20.5% said that the federal reimbursement rate is sufficient to cover the cost of producing a lunch. That means 80%. I mean, I can
Of the
infer from
nation,
that,
like-
80% of the nation is struggling to become self-funded because it's not enough there. It's too expensive with the cost of food because of the requirements you have in terms of what they have to eat or what they can and cannot
Correct.
eat, the ingredients that are required there. So,
Yes.
we should make sure. I'm happy to hand my copy back.
I can give
for
you a
the
digital
minutes.
copy as well if you need
Digital
that.
copy would be
Yeah.
great,
Yep,
but
I can do
I
that
do
too.
think it should be included
I guess so.
in the minutes so people at home can take a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Any other questions?
Oh yeah, before I just like take off.
No. Everyone seems good. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Director of the Year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Director of the Year, out.
There she is, Director of the Year.
Wonderful. Princess
All right, it looks like we have covered all of our presentations and recognitions today. I apologize for being on my phone. I somehow left my computer at the office, so I feel weird on my phone, but here we are. So let's go back to school board reorganization. We had gotten to the point of review of code of ethics and code of conduct. We typically have those documents. I think we made some changes to them last year, but they were all signed. My thought would be, this would be something that we could circulate for signatures when we have all of our board members present, rather than, doing it differently. I would say, therefore, in the next 2 weeks, everyone should take a look, make sure they're comfortable signing. We certainly want to make sure we can abide by these and as board members. Mr. O'Connell already mentioned the NHSBA training that's available for new and old board members. There's always new programming out there, so definitely take advantage of that. And then we can get into committee assignments. What are the board's thoughts on doing these assignments tonight? Happy to do it. We also could wait for a full board, so I could go in either direction.
I mean, I'm fine either way.
All right, well,
You just load Andrew up with anything.
Yeah,
else.
so it's Andrew.
yeah, I think Andrew should be on
I do
everything.
have I have one suggestion. I had mentioned this to Heidi. And Sarah, I think this probably mostly impacts you, so I should say this in front of you. So one thing that's becoming increasingly challenging for the board, I think, is the daytime meetings. And I'm not about to ask you to do them at night, so don't worry. But I mean, you guys are doing amazing work. I came to that last meeting. It's very interesting to hear what's going on. I, as a real estate lawyer, don't have a ton to contribute. I do, I occasionally have questions or things like that. But I'm wondering if it might make sense for some of these committees that are meeting during the school day for us to maybe just have a board liaison as opposed to a board member who's sitting in the committees, where we can maybe just do a quick check-in with you at whatever frequency you think is appropriate. Because obviously the one thing that's different now is you're here with us at our board meetings as well, which is amazing. We love that. It's great to have you here, and it's really, I think it's really keeping some consistency on curriculum, which is awesome. So it's really just, it seems to me, and I haven't gone through, maybe there's a few others, but like I know emergency management's one of them that we do during the day. But for those, I was thinking that might be more achievable for us, because now I think all of us have. Tina was the last holdout who had an education schedule.
Yeah, that it makes sense to me, and I'm more than happy to, because I usually do committee updates anyway when we meet. I give information about what we met about and talked about and that kind of thing. So I think
it does make sense. And if there's questions that I have, then absolutely reach out to the person that would be the liaison for that committee.
Yeah, I think it'd just be really good communication between the board member and you in terms of, hey, we're having this meeting and we think it's important to have, that board parent representation there. Are you, able to come to this one because we're getting into these details or looking over these survey results or, whatever the question is. Whereas, something more nuanced and more detailed, you would share with the full board anyway, during your update.
Right.
So I guess with that said, I'll just put out there like what my interests are, and if you guys want to shoot me down, by all means, shoot me down. Obviously, I'm like deep in the trenches with facilities. I would love to be able to continue that, particularly since I was doing that way back with, before I was actually on facilities. I do actually really enjoy Learning Outcomes Task Force in terms of, I'm very passionate about the figuring out what we're striving towards.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be happy to stay on with that as well. I do thoroughly enjoy the negotiation stuff. And I am able to, my firm will give me time off for stuff like that. So I could assist with that. That's not as consistent. What else was I on? Energy Committee. I love the Energy Committee. I struggle to see the usefulness of us participating in that, particularly since our energy consumption is segregated from the town. They did the primary driver for that committee was initially the community power, and they have that sort of
Community power agreement
ironed out. So I don't know how important it is that we continue on that. I don't want to sound like we're not willing to. I of course love seeing the town administrator at that. Always pleasant, but yeah. So I mean, if you guys want me to continue on that, I'm fine to do that. I'm trying to see what else my name was next to. My name ended up next to a lot of things last year, I feel like.
That's what happens to the newest person.
And I'm more than happy to continue, with you with emergency management on either side of that. So
For me, I wish that meeting was like a half hour earlier.
Oh, really?
Only because I have a Thursday 9:30 meeting. Standing forever.
We might be able to do that.
If you can,
I can reach out to the.
I can make many more meetings if that's.
I think that's just our default time 9.
Yeah.
Like for a lot
I
of
figure
meetings.
since everybody gets the principals get the kids going for the
Yeah,
day and all that sort
but
of stuff.
and if it's not, I don't mind doing the primary on that, and like because we sometimes are both at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys get the agendas. Look, when you were speaking of liaison, I think that's a good example. We do that during the day because we have to bring in everyone working, right? The officers and chiefs and stuff. But you guys have joined by Zoom, Google as well, and as people do that when they need to. We try to forward the agendas. I'm always late putting them out, but we put the agendas out.
It seems to go. I mean, that committee runs perfectly.
Yeah,
fine. So we're not. So yeah, that's. And then I think looking at Andrew, I think last year he was gracious enough to continue with budget. Which budget is a monumental undertaking. So I think that we had kind of left that to be the only thing that he was really responsible for. And I think you had indicated that he was still willing to continue with that.
Yeah, he did let me know that if it was the will of the board, he would continue on for budget committee. And I'm happy to continue as a backup for budget committee as well.
Does anyone have any objections to Andrew continuing on budget committee? I know Peter really was hoping to. So I think we can.
I guess my question, I mean, if I may, and I'm not meaning to put you on the spot, but what are some of the committees you're interested in?
Facilities.
Facilities, you want to stay? Okay.
So I would love to stay on the facilities committee. I've been there I got interested as a citizen, and I would love to stay as a representative there.
Okay.
As I mentioned, my email, my focus will have to shift, right? I'm no longer representing myself and a citizen. I'm now representing the school board. I mean, the economic development kind of piques my interest, and then the other one was emergency management, but I really don't have a hard hold to either one of those.
Okay. That's good to know, Peter. How about you?
Are you liking economic development?
I like economic development. Yeah, it's interesting. It's not a fast-moving thing, just because there isn't a lot of place in town for economic
Right.
development.
Well, I guess I need to preface, what times are those meetings?
Those meetings are typically around at 6:30, I think.
Okay.
Emergency management's like 9 a.m.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna work.
So it's, and I can make some, and some for half those meetings, depending on what's going on in my little world. And I typically do them from Zoom, but I do try to participate in the emergency drills on those days at the 3 schools. So for me, I think I'm still obviously very interested in the facilities committee. Economic development is good, and CIP is actually also one that's sort of later in the day, but I've finally sort of got the rhythm of how that process works.
Yeah.
What was the second one that you said?
CIP.
No, you said one before that. You said facilities.
Economic development.
Economic development.
Economic development. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
what's the difference between economic development and CIP?
CIP kind of takes in all the things from the town and the school and kind of ranks them
Oh, right.
by what the priority should be.
Gotcha.
So in this sort of 2 sections, there's the town side and the school side.
So if I may sort of summarize a bit, I'm going to skip over facilities because I think the 3 of you all expressed interest in that. Budget committee, is everyone okay with that remaining? Andrew and myself as a backup. Emergency management, Matt, and then Peter, you two.
However you want to do it, whatever your preference is on that.
We'll work it out.
If you have a strong passion to be the primary on that, you can. Otherwise, I'm more than happy to.
Why don't we leave you the primary and I'll be the secondary, and I'll jump on when I can, just to sort of not get lost.
Learning outcomes task force, Matt, you'll be a liaison for that and work with Sarah in terms of what meetings that you're looking for input from the board or presence from the board on.
Yep.
Continue to keep us connected, but maybe not necessarily attendance at every meeting. Joint loss, I'm happy to keep. It's my favorite. It's like 15 minutes. 4 times a year. I'm not gonna lie. That one wins as my favorite committee.
If you want, since
don't touch that. You can't have it.
You want curriculum?
Oh no, I was gonna say you can't have joint
I'm not gonna. I'm gonna take. Yeah,
don't take my 15 minutes.
You express your deep preference for that. I'm like, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say that because I'll be communicating with Sarah about the learning outcomes. I could also communicate with her about curriculum review.
So I was going to say, I'm actually happy to be on that committee for curriculum.
Yeah,
I've been backing up Tina on that, so I've been on the communications. I've let Tina take the lead on it for sure.
I wasn't trying to take an extra.
No. That one is Zoom, or it's a Meet
Matt will trade you
sometimes.
for the
There's always a Meet link.
Yeah. That one has a Meet, and a lot of times it's reviewing materials, which you do on your own time.
Yeah.
So it's all Heidi. You got it.
Let's see here. Website committee.
I don't know if this exists anymore.
I don't think
Yeah.
it does.
So I think
Why don't we put a pause on that one and we'll check in? I don't think, to my recollection.
I would honestly, I think we got to be. We really do need to start paring some of these down because the time commitment for school board alone is a lot.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And I think, honestly and truly, I think we had this come about because there were being so many complaints about the website, particularly when it was relating to the stuff that was going on with GMS. We have a whole new administration that's very capable of running a website, I think. So unless someone brings an issue to our attention, in which case we could address it with the superintendent, I would love to see that deleted off of this.
Yeah, well, and then historically, Andrew was on it before Tina because they were redoing the website. And so making it more friendly for your phone and whatnot. So I not that there isn't always more work to do, but I think there is a form on there now that says that I'm having trouble with this. I would or suggestion, comment. I don't know that we need a committee on that. And if there was something that were to come together and you wanted board input on, presumably you could let us know.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think we should cut that. Wellness is another one I think we can cut.
No.
No.
You have to have that one.
Okay.
By law.
Okay, never mind. Wellness we cannot cut. It's only been me and Lauren, and it's
That's okay. Yep. It has to be annually, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lauren and I will have a date.
A few, there's a minimum number of times a year, but yes, you have to, yes. you
Unless
have to.
somebody else would like to have, fun with Lauren, I'm happy to keep that one once or twice a year. Okay. CIP, Peter, you're good to stay on that? Do you think you need a backup, or you think?
I think that Andrew used to do it.
Yep.
And then I did it. It doesn't meet all that often. It's really like once a month. So, if there's a meeting I can't make, I will let the board, make the board aware.
Yeah.
And whoever is available.
Is that a evening meeting?
That's an evening meeting.
So
Want to be the
you
backup
can
for
put me
that?
down as backup.
Perfect.
How often do we have to go?
You're invited to all of them.
Should we be going to all?
You can,
It's required by law.
Maybe it is.
We can both play that game.
as I recall, Doug used to go to them all,
Okay. Yeah.
and Jetty once in a while. I said that word.
I think when the school was presenting their
Yeah, that makes
CIP,
sense. I think we went
there was
in
more-
November. We were going over school
I
stuff
think when we get to the, whatever we're gonna do for GMS,
all the
it'd
time.
be good for you to be.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
Negotiations, again, for LEA this year.
I mean, I love that.
Yeah, me too. So I'm happy to stick with that. Those are often afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I'll have to take time off from work for that, but.
The lawyers on the board are able to
Yeah.
Handle that.
handle that.
Yeah, my job makes it difficult that I can't even bring in personal computers. So like I can't join meetings from work, even
Yeah.
if they were during, like I took my lunchtime early.
Yeah, that
so-
one, the negotiation stuff too is a lot of, I mean, there's routine meetings on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's busy in the fall, particularly. Social media manager, we really haven't had a presence. We've just kind of let the schools do their own social media, and the board, hasn't done it.
We haven't seen anything that shouldn't be on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's really Jen and
Yeah, I think,
Dan.
again, unless there's an issue with social media, I really don't think that we need to have a committee for it. Or
Agreed.
that we need to participate in.
Well, and the other
Do you have
question
your
too
own
is.
board's social media page?
I have no idea.
We do.
Okay.
Tina, I believe, has the access, so we should get that back, or have it. But I guess my question is, there was a social media policy put into place for the town at one point. I don't know that applied to us. Am I making this up? Do you recall that?
I do recall there was a big hubbub about social media posting on the town side.
All the as a resident,
Yes.
so when someone who's maintains a public position or elected position or an appointed position, they have to
I
often
think
write
we
as
have
a
that too,
resident.
right? If we comment on
Stuff about staff, I know.
I think
But-
that's always sort of been precedent, but I don't know that it's
A rule.
written down somewhere.
I'm doing this from memory, but I'm fairly certain the policy talks about staff and focuses on staff. I don't think it includes school board, but I could
But
check.
again, the school board is a unit. We are not permitted to act individually as part of being, we are a group and we represent together. So I think the goal with the as a resident is, if you want to post about the fishing derby as a resident, go for it, kind of thing, or whatever it is. But for purposes of tonight, for committee, I think we're going to continue to leave that blank and or strike that altogether. Energy.
If we're gonna keep energy, Dan, that's an evening one that's not very frequent. I don't know if you
Okay, sure.
willing to take that one. I mean, it is nice to show our faces at that, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's gonna be, it's been a very long time since I've been at that, so I don't know what the.
Would they be discussing that Liberty Gas?
They might be.
Yeah.
So that might be worthwhile, especially if we're thinking possibly utilizing that for GMS at some
Yeah.
point.
All right, so we'll have Dan take the lead on that. Is that okay?
If he's okay with that,
Yeah, that's fine.
volunteered you.
Economic development, Peter, you're good to stay with that, and then policy, I've been on it.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, I think
Wonk, wonk.
happy to have somebody else do it. I'm also happy to, Renee, Brian, and I can bring everything gets approved by the board anyway. It's no one acting unilaterally, but it's sort of putting the policies in order and on the agenda, so I'll stick with that. There seems a lot of Ames on that list, but,
And it appears quite
yeah,
frequently
that's
as
true.
well.
All right, so that leaves Facilities Improvement Committee. What are the thoughts of the board on that? Or do we want to wait until we have a full board to make that decision? With keeping in mind do we need to be also having the discussion of what the goals of the Facilities Improvement Committee are for the year in light of the March?
We can certainly, yeah, like kind of rehash that. I do think that, whatever, we're getting to a point where it's gonna be a lot more board involvement coming up.
Right,
pretty soon.
I think in pretty short order.
Yeah.
I do think we need to tighten up the bylaws.
Yeah, the governance, definitely think it could use an overhaul.
Yep. So that is, I mean, our focus was to bring that back in once we were really trying to hit the deadline that we blew by as of yesterday.
Thanks for that.
As of today, by the way.
As of today, yeah. But actually, we are very, very close to
Okay.
having something. So I do think that we will end up with a lot more board, full board involvement, probably pretty short order as it relates to GMS. And then the question becomes, does facilities continue on with other facility considerations, which I think would be beneficial.
I think it needs
would be
to.
beneficial, right?
Mhm.
I know there was an initial, sort of push towards like, hey, just focus on the GMS stuff because obviously
Right.
that's. But there's been some good stuff that's come out of for the other schools. Dan went through School Dude. That was helpful. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've been, just to jump in there, like, quietly, because that's been the focus of that, but we did those on-site insight reports for all three schools, with the idea of doing a capital improvement plan for all three schools, and we've been quietly putting that together, like, from our office. It would be great to get involvement from the FIC once kind of the GMS stuff has got a direction to be like, this is facilities committee, here's what we're thinking long-term, 20 years out, like based upon, and then what are people's thoughts on this, right? Like, does this work, not work, so on and so forth.
It's what I do in my world, right? Is the next step that I was going to suggest if I stayed citizen, right, was going to be, we got to start thinking long-term, we got to start thinking district as a whole, as a holistic unit, and go through that. And otherwise, you're always going to run into these situations and you'll never catch everything.
Yeah, I mean, I do wish all three of us could still be there because it's been, it's been useful, but obviously we can't have a quorum.
Yeah. I mean, you do have, if you, it's your guys' decision. We don't have another facilities committee meeting until April 10th, and there is another board meeting until before that, right? We have on the agenda tonight, at least to begin discussions on those guiding articles, those kind of operating articles for the FIC. Well, we obviously are not going to finalize that tonight, but up there for kind of review. So we have a little gap between that next FIC meeting. So
Yeah, we could
just from information.
chew on this for a little bit.
Yep, so we can table till the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And have a full board as well. Hopefully. I believe that was it for committees.
I can't crush too fast.
So moving on, consent agenda, were there any committee reports or committee actions that people would like to move off of the consent agenda and have a conversation about in old business? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and provide a summary of the non-public actions for March 5th, 2025. Ms. Ames motion to approve the February 19th non-public meeting minutes. Mr. Shoemaker seconded the motion and the motion passed 5-0. Ms. Ames motion to approve the GMS teacher nominations for 2025. Mr. Polanski seconded the motion and the motion passed 5-0. Ms. Ames motion to approve the LMS teacher nominations for FY 25-26. Mr. Polanski seconded the motion and the motion passed 5-0. Ms. Ames was busy that night. Ms. Ames motion to approve the CHS teacher nominations for FY 2025-26. Mr. Polanski seconded the motion.
Yeah, I was busy too.
Yes.
I think we tried to keep it easy for the note taker.
Yes, exactly.
It was appreciated.
Ms. Ames' motion to approve the district teacher nominations for FY 25-26. Mr. Polensky seconded the motion, and the motion passed 5-0. Mr. Cutter motion to accept the resignation of Sandra McMullen, GMS set teacher. Ms. Ames seconded the motion, and the motion passed 5-0. Mr. Cutter motion to accept the resignation of Megan Connors, LMS grade 8 social studies teacher. Ms. Ames seconded the motion, and the motion passed 5-0. Mr. Cutter motion to accept the resignation of Laura Shaw, LMS music and chorus teacher. Ms. Ames seconded the motion, and the motion passed 5-0. Ms. Ames motion to adjourn the public session at 8:12. Mr. Shoemaker seconded the motion, which passed 5-0.
To adjourn, what can I say?
Well, there you go. Get her done. Ready to move on to our student representative report, which is all pulled up. Welcome, Nick, tonight. You're flying solo.
So spring sports have started. The open gyms have started, and tryouts aren't until the end of the month. Campbell's mathletes went to compete at the state contest at NHTI. Aaron Fakidi not only stood out as a key contributor, but also made history by being the only student in the entire state to achieve a perfect score.
It's amazing. Wow.
Mm-hmm. The math team took home first place in the medium division and ranked 7th out of 43 teams statewide.
Congratulations to them.
Our Youth and Gov students participated in the pre-legislative session this past weekend at the State House in Concord. All of our students demonstrated leadership and civic engagement as they took on multiple roles in a mock NH government with 120 other students from across the state. Some of the kids from Youth and Gov that went, all the kids from Youth and Gov that went were Caitlin Brown, Sophia Adamczyk, Zach Alwan, Rocco DeLucia, Bridget Hidalgo, Victor Philbrick, Kate Silver, Josh Steves, and Quinn Watt. We had the Campbell St. Patrick's Day Luncheon for the Campbell staff and the SAU. It was donated and served by Kathy and Sean McDonough and the Campbell Leprechauns. We had International Food Night put on by the Spanish National Honor Society, and the FBLA Overnight Conference is tomorrow.
Great.
We have the District Fusion Night coming up on the 25th, and we have the last day of quarter 3 coming up on the 3rd.
Wow, that's fast.
How are we 3/4 of the way through? Oh my God.
This is crazy, I know.
So Spanish classes, Spanish 1 and 2 are focusing on life beyond high school, like what sentences can kids produce in the real world and how can you use your Spanish once you leave Campbell. Upper levels are focusing on comparing and contrasting NH communities with Latin American Spanish communities, like the different types of stores, the different city layouts, the different architecture. Spanish is also doing a song March Madness. The students vote on their favorite songs in the bracket. And there's a joint field trip with the art department to the Curia Museum, a baseball glove drive to support kids in the Dominican Republic. We're gearing up for the AP test in May. And last but not least, there are still some spots left for the 2026 Spain trip. So some highlights from the middle school. In social studies, the 7th graders were doing their unit on Roman history, and they ended with a battle in the gym versus administration. They made shields and worked together to protect one another from pool noodles and Nerf balls. In ELA, 5th graders are working on their poetry unit and are learning to write poetry across many styles. In math, 6th graders celebrated Pi Day on the 14th and worked in a competition to memorize as many numbers of pi as possible. Congratulations to Evelyn L. for memorizing 202 numbers in order. The 8 winners were able to pie staff and administrators.
202?
I cannot do that.
My Alexa asked me if I
count to
could do
202
5.
without
I was gonna say I used to know 100. Yeah.
202?
I can do 5. What's up?
Sorry, continue.
In science, students in 7th grade are working on vocabulary, including Latin roots. This important skill helps build towards understanding vocabulary across the curriculum. And in the Unified Arts, band and chorus had a wonderful performance at the district-wide concert last week. The visual artists also had some incredible artwork on display at CHS. And at Griffin, kindergarten classes students are exploring critical thinking, problem solving, computational thinking, teamwork, and technology. Enjoy the short video that highlights students working with Cubeto, a coding game, 3 Ducks, a tool for creative thinking and problem solving, Poppet keyboards for keyboard letter recognition, and computers to learn basic digital literacies.
We learn about Cubeto, 3 Ducks, and computers, and it's fun. My favorite thing when Mrs. D comes in is that I like Cubeto, and I like that you can make him move. I like 3 Ducks because I can make iPads with it and computers and phones. I learned how to do my password and my username and the changes in the cursor.
Super cute.
Any
That's
questions? Any comments?
Very cool.
Great job.
Yes, thank you.
I wish I had that in kindergarten.
Right? All right, we're gonna go ahead and move into community comment on agenda items. Seeing no community, I'm assuming there are no community comments, but I'm gonna leave it open. All right, closed. We will close community comment at this time. We thank everyone who provided us with input, and we will have another community comment at the end of the agenda. For correspondence, I did not get to it this week, so I will have a month's worth of correspondence for our next meeting. I also wasn't sure if I was staying as vice chair, so
But now that we know that there's a month's worth.
now, yes, there.
It's gonna take-
That's what that was. Turn the table right there. Moving into general business, superintendent's report.
Yeah. So we have enrollment report, monthly enrollment report. We have started kindergarten registrations as of this morning at, I think, 11 o'clock when we last looked at the numbers. We're at 50. It's been open for about 2 weeks, kindergarten registration. So we'll see where those numbers kind of continue. We were projecting, high 70s when we did our enrollment projections back in the fall. So to be at 50 already is a good sign that we're going to be kind of approaching the number that we thought we were going to have. So we'll keep updating the board every meeting as we go on those. Otherwise, we're same overall number that we were before. One up, a little two down, one up. In different schools, same thing.
It's kind of amazing that
Yep.
it's the exact same as it was at the beginning. Usually there's some little difference.
Yeah, it's been we gain one, we lose one, in and out, and pretty steady all year on this one. So. Yeah. And then that's enrollment. Any questions? Great. Next thing is just voting results follow-up. We had voting day last week. Mixed bag for the school district. Very happy. Wrote about this in my weekend message, so I won't rehash everything because I know many people read that there. But very thankful that we passed the LSSA contract. That's excellent for our support staff. They're an incredible group of people, do a lot for our district, and I'm glad that passed. I'm very happy some of those warrant articles passed, particularly. I'm going to summarize, but the repairs warrant article that allows us to put some money away on that. And again, I think that shows kind of the long-term planning that we're trying to accomplish as a district and a board when we're looking at our facilities to make sure we keep our facilities in good shape. And then the special ed one, and again, you don't have to look far for issues in other districts around special ed if you're not protecting yourselves by having kind of money in reserve for that situation. And we've talked about how we might have to use that account this year, so or that reserve fund this year. So thank you for those who came out to vote, everyone who came out to vote. It's important. This is what we teach the kids, to come out and have your voice heard. Even if we don't always agree with people's decisions, it's important that people come out and vote, and we welcome that every single time. The big one that kind of is a bummer is obviously the proposed budget did not pass, so we'll be in a default budget next year. So that's what that first bullet is. That's just the same document we had way back during the budget process that explains the default budget and how it is calculated. Things such as contracts we're committed to, for example, like a collective bargaining agreement with the teachers that was agreed upon in 2024, March 2024, that this would be the wage increases and other increases. So those go into the default budget. Things that are not are new to the budget would go out of the budget for the default budget. It's approximately about $300,000 difference for us. That's not crazy. You can look in the news. There are districts that are millions of dollars differences in what they propose and what they're ending up for budget seasons. And Tony was here earlier, and I don't know if you've been following over in the Conant School District, Jaffrey School District. They're cutting like all their athletic programs, multiple administrators, multiple 20 teachers. They got decimated on that. So we're not in that type of situation, thankfully. There will be some things that we're gonna kind of follow up with. Our plan here is we showed you the default numbers. That's what we'll submit in our MS 22 form to the state, because that's how we calculated the default budget. But it's a bottom line budget, and we can move some things around once the new fiscal year starts. So at the April 2nd board meeting, we want to come to the board with some ideas of what some of that movement could look like. And I'll give you a tangible example, right? When we calculate the default budget, we're not required by law to provide transportation, bus transportation for high school students. So that comes out when we calculate the default budget, right? I would imagine, and we can discuss this more in depth in April when we come to you with like a proposed default budget, if that makes any sense, that we would want to continue to provide transportation to our high school students, right? Well, if we're going to cover that cost, then something else can't be covered, right? For example, and I'm not saying this is what we're going to do, but just in simplicity, we're talking transportation, continue the transportation conversation. We may not be able to have a late bus run anymore, because the money that would be associated to that late bus run, we actually need to cover the cost of the high school transportation. So those are some of the tough decisions we're going to have to kind of make as we look at a default budget. We'll do the best I can. We're starting to crank through and getting some ideas and putting it down. Our intent is to try our best not to reduce by any positions. I don't think we need to. We did in the proposed budget, if you remember, some reductions to positions already. Those reductions carry over into the default budget. The big one was 10 paraprofessional positions, right? So I think we're in good shape from a personnel standpoint to absorb all of that with the default budget. And one of those reasons why we're good is because of the collective bargaining agreements we have in place. If you were talking, again, in comparison to other districts that are millions of dollars, they're obviously cutting positions. I don't think that will necessarily be true for us, but we need to be conscious of things as the spring kind of unfolds and hiring season kind of unfolds, to be smart with decisions we make and stuff like that. So at the April 2nd board meeting, we'll go over some kind of recommendations, look for feedback, maybe even look for a kind of an approval to kind of move forward with our intents. Again, lots of it can change between now and July 1st when this budget actually takes place. So we wouldn't actually make any of those transfers till we're in the next fiscal year, but we want to give an idea of what's coming down the pike when we get there. So, any questions on that?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
So I haven't been paying attention to other districts' specific budgets.
Yeah.
But you're referencing that other districts had millions of dollars that were cut.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that those districts also had substantially larger budgets all around?
No. We're an SB2 district, right? Which means people have to go in the ballot box, which gives us some level of protection with a default budget, right? Like that's the advantage, of a SB2, where a lot of these districts that are getting really hit hard tend to be in that town meeting format where people are coming into the community and on the floor making significant reductions. That's what's happening in different places. That's not true. There are some SB2 school districts that are also lost in votes, and the default was significantly less, and they're in a challenging position for that. But Merrimack Valley comes into mind. They cut a lot through their town meeting process and stuff like that. I think there was a lot of school districts this year who could kind of see, like we saw, that like it was going to be a tough year financially, and they tried to come in at a sound budget. I know in the two previous districts I worked at, where I still have people that I talk to on a pretty regular basis, Bo came in with a slight increase when it was all said and done, very small, because they understood. They also had a teacher contract they were putting forward and stuff. And in Timberlane, they came in below their default budget as a way to kind of hopefully show people that they understood what was going on in their district and stuff like that. And they had some other things going on that allowed them that luxury this year to do that. So it was really a mixed bag out there of people in the voting, of proposed budgets going in as intended and stuff. So a lot of districts are not. And similar boats were us, where the proposed is not what they'll have next year.
So not a question, but just like, I guess, a follow-up statement. I appreciate how positive you guys are. You came into this, you really came, I feel like during the budgeting process, you guys really tried hard to keep that budget down. If you actually have the time to watch all of the budgeting meetings, like, you can start to understand really what goes into, there's a lot of considerations. It's not like, you're not coming to us with all like, wouldn't it be nice if we had, Starbucks in the SAU? Like, yeah. People think that.
That would generate revenue.
Right.
Wouldn't maybe not be a bad idea.
I always think it'd be great.
Actually.
A Dunkin' Donuts in a high school, you would make so much money.
I appreciate that you guys do that. I think it just is important for us to reiterate that while there are other districts that have lost millions of dollars from their budget, $300,000 is not insubstantial.
Yep.
Given how we budgeted, right? And it's going to create a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And I just would like to, remind people that, unfortunately, for better or worse, we all love the fact that we don't have sales tax. We all love the fact that we don't have income tax. But unfortunately, all of these expenses fall on our backs as property owners. And so the reality is, it is becoming increasingly more difficult to fund education and to make it something where we're not raising a bunch of dopes because we're not putting money into education. So, I just want to make sure that we're reiterating that. I appreciate how positive you are about saying we're going to do our best, because we are. We're gonna find a way to get through it. But I don't want people to watch these things happen and say, "Well, see, they just don't need the money." It's just
there's no consequence. What's the big deal?
Yeah, and you're kind of sometimes I appreciate that, because sometimes we're in a tough position, right? Like, we will make this work like the best that we can, because that's why you hire us to do this, right? And we don't want to hurt students ultimately, right? So we're going to look on the edges as much as possible and look at a corner here and look at a corner here. But I do think we're hitting kind of that wall where we might have to entertain some different ways that we do business, or some different, and that transportation is a very real one. And I bring that up because we did that in my previous district. We eliminated the after school, the late bus runs, right? Because we needed to absorb costs somewhere, and that was something we had to give up, right? So that's something we're going to examine hard. And we know we have kids who utilize that, particularly at the middle school level, right? Where they're staying for a co-curricular after school to do that. But if if you look at the ridership between that and then the amount of high school students we have that still utilize bus transportation, and that's to get to school, not just to participate in a co-curricular, those are the decisions we're going to have to weigh. You're probably going to start to hear me talk about pay for play a little bit, right? Because, again, we talk about some of the edges of where we're going to make up that money. Some of the small places we put some additions in our budget was things such as uniforms for middle school sports, right? We had a big discussion about it. It was at a budget committee to add some additional money because we want to make sure those things are up to date. That number has to revert back to what the previous number was. That is something that wasn't in the default budget, right? Because it wasn't in our budget this year. So we don't have that money to do those uniforms next year. And we talked about this a lot in the budget process. We were most hurt by reduction in revenue. Now that came from the state, right? That's not necessarily local revenue, that's state revenue. But we might need to look at ways to generate revenue, and that might be a discussion point, an idea of a pay for play for athletics and that type of stuff. I'm not saying that's what we're going to do, but we're going to start exploring those ideas and might be coming to the board with to get some feedback, not just from the board, from the community on some of those ideas to help offset that.
There are other districts that do that.
Bo does it, yeah. Different
does it.
Models, yep. It's not foreign, there's pros and cons to it. You know, if we get to that point to actually formally discuss it, like, we'll go over all those pros and cons, but that's where I think you'll start seeing this year some of that stuff, right? So.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was gonna say, growing up, I grew up in a district where they cut out transportation for every student within a 2-mile radius of the schools.
Yeah. I think districts were, there was a couple districts as we were coming out to COVID that were really close to doing it, to getting rid of high school transportation and just biting the bullet, you know, and just saying like, we're not doing it anymore. Because the ridership, honestly, at the high school age is pretty low considering.
Freshmen.
Yep, a lot of freshmen, you know, until they find, you know, someone to get a ride with.
Somebody's got their license early.
Yeah, you know, and you see that as the year kind of progresses on, as that ridership goes, and no one has done it yet that I'm aware of in the state, you know, to really actually do it, but someone's going to be the first, and then we'll see where it goes from there, so, yeah. All right. So that's default, we'll have a lot more next meeting. This is follow-up from our last meeting, BMO update, credit card update. We said we're going to work on this, so this is our first thing. A lot of our credit card usage is buying from Amazon, so we decided to tackle how we purchase things from Amazon. We don't need board approval for this because this is procedures. This is more to inform you, so you know that we're continuing to work on this issue. So we're updating our Amazon POs, PO process. Julie and Anna Immorati in our SAU office have been working hard to kind of look at this. Essentially, what we researched and worked out with Amazon, and we've tried a couple of tests, and this is working really well, is we can set up standing POs with Amazon, so we don't have to use a credit card when we're purchasing through Amazon. And this allows us to get a bill directly from Amazon through the invoice systems, pay through the invoice system. We've tested it with a couple of small purchases from the high school with Amanda in the front office to make sure it works. We've been working with our administrative assistants in all 3 schools in the SAU to get them up to speed because they will be our designated purchaser is what we're calling them. So all the purchasing through Amazon will go through one person, and then we have 2 separate in the SAU, one for student services and one for general, to do all the Amazon kind of purchases. So this will help us reduce the need for credit card usage for some people. We're going to continue to progress and change some of our kind of procedures when it comes to line. This is just the first one we're kind of tackling here, so we're good. I do have one ask, I should say. I don't need the procedure itself approved, but I do have one thing that I am going to ask the board. Is it okay if we buy a district Amazon Prime account so we can get free delivery?
Of course.
Save so much money.
Yeah, it's $350 for a district like that, for a business, for a district like us. We can put up to 10 users. We'll have the 5, point people here on this as our kind of people that are going to deliver. But I just wanted to let you know that we're hoping to buy an Amazon Prime account for the districts using district funds. So if you see that in a future manifest, that's what that is. It's not someone buying a personal.
We said to try to like wrap up the Amazon, tighten it up a little bit, and you go get
go get a Prime account. Yeah, it's not related to when we're playing the NCAA tournament in the SAU office tomorrow. So don't worry about that. Separate.
I'm surprised you don't have one.
Really? I mean, that's.
We have there's people got individual things connected to different things. Again, we're trying to streamline it to one Prime account for the district and use it and adding users to that account. So it's part of that streamline kind of process. So, and not just a personal Prime account, but a business Prime account, right? So,
sounds good.
So there is that. Next thing is just informational. So, this company called Arcs Ed. is the company, and then Lytics, I think is how you say that, is kind of the product we're kind of exploring a little bit. So this company does a lot of human resources related stuff. The particular product we're interested in, I've been fortunate to see 2 kind of presentations on it at this point, is human resources to help with negotiations. And what it does, I think like 98% of the school districts in Massachusetts are now utilizing this. Don't quote me on that exact percentage, but it is a lot of them. This company originated in Massachusetts and was founded by former school administrators who have been through a lot of negotiations. And what it does is they take all of the data related to those negotiations that you're going to have and streamline it into one manageable kind of system here for districts to use. So they're now selling this product because it's all public information. They do all the work of gathering everything for you, pulling your contracts. You have to work with them a little bit. And you can do some really neat things in real-time comparisons as you're kind of going through a negotiation. Hey, what are other districts doing that are in our cohort groups? What does the first year bachelor's look like? What does the master's 30 highest level look like? What does the average look like? What's the middle look like? All those type of things. So I wanted to kind of inform the board that we're looking at this, and we may have a more formal proposal to go down this road and make a purchase connected to this. They're really trying to get their foot into New Hampshire right now. Why I've seen them twice is they did one for us personally. I've also seen it at a superintendent's conference that we had because they're really selling it. The superintendent, so we got an initial quote for this, which is a little high for my liking, but the Superintendent's Association is working with them to get a discount for member schools, which we would be a member school of, and that's when I would like to pounce on this. So we would come to the board before we do that, but I want to kind of educate you now on this and have you look at it at your leisure to see what it's kind of all about. I'm happy to set up if anyone is interested, particularly you guys who will be in negotiations next year. They're more than happy to do, a quick, it's about 20 minutes session with us and go over everything. You can see specifically what it is that they do and how it can be a really helpful tool for us, next year in future negotiations. So this is more informational at this point. So,
yeah, same. Having done 2 LEA negotiations and an LSSA negotiation, I think that information would be incredibly helpful to have it centralized. A good chunk of negotiations is exchanging that with the union in terms of what are you using for a cohort, what are you using, and what are you getting for comparison purposes. We spend a lot of time on that, and Holly spends a lot of time on that, and so to be able to free her up so she's not having to put her hours doing that but can do it elsewhere. She's, I'm sure, got a long list of things to do.
I think it's a huge tool, and like they say, they use it in the middle in negotiations. Like, project this up. All right, who are your cohort scores? Let's throw them up. Let's look at it together, right? Like, this is what it is. We're going to all look at the information together. So that's more informational right now than anything else more to come.
Sounds good.
MLU, like I mentioned at the very beginning of the meeting, this was a later ad today, actually, because we've been working with the Litchfield Police Department. I believe I know that this has come up in emergency management meetings. I believe I've mentioned it at the board level previously, but if not, I'm mentioning it now. We've been working with the Litchfield Police Department about a memorandum of understanding about remote access to our video surveillance system at the school, for the school district. To summarize this, but feel free to read through it all. The police department would like to have access to our security cameras when there are emergencies, right? And that makes sense. Like, if there was a legitimate safety threat to the building or safety situation, and they could in real time just log in without having to jump through the hoops of getting into our system and doing this or whatever, it would help everybody out. So that's kind of the crux of where this MOU comes from. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to access our system. Like, they can't just right now randomly hop on our system and check out what's going on in our schools, right? There would have to be an actual reason to do that. So, and then they have to kind of tell us when they're doing it. They have to ask permission if it's just for a training situation or anything like that. There's more details in there. So we've been working with the LPD, with Chief Jones, to make sure there's a document here we're both happy with. It's been a very easy process for us. We're all on the same page on why this is important. Chris Jamrog, our Director of Technology, knows how to do this now. He's been researching that, so this is a good time to kind of sign this and kind of get going. So I wanted to bring it to the board for your review. And if you had any questions before I signed it or any hesitation on me signing it, give you an opportunity to speak it. So
I think it's probably long overdue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Has legal reviewed it?
We have not done it by legal yet, but I can certainly ask them, yeah.
I'm just curious if there's other MOUs similar to this out there.
It's based
With-
on a very similar one.
Is it? Okay. I would assume there was a template somewhere
Yeah, there
along the
is.
way.
And like we did put a couple of small Litchfield things in it. The police asked for a little flexibility, and one thing that I had no issues with when it came to bringing in, because, you know, a good example, Friday, we had to have a truck come down from 2 Fridays ago, whenever that was, we had a little fun at the high school. A Manchester truck, because of how busy everything was in town at the moment, actually was one of the trucks that responded. So a clause in here that allows the chief to allow, like through him, allow someone from like a different police department to view the tape as well, right? They're not part of the Litchfield community and stuff in those real severe emergency situations and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty standard for this type of stuff. Yeah.
I don't have an issue with it.
All right. If everyone's good? Perfect. Last thing, I actually might ask Heidi to help me with this a little bit. We have to technically bring this to the board for acceptance. So,
So funny.
What's the group's name? I know it's Londonderry.
The Londonderry Blue Lions.
Yeah.
They are a 501c3 cheerleading organization in Londonderry, and they include Litchfield students K through 8. For the last 2 years, full disclosure, I'm on their board. My daughter does cheer with them. We have been fundraising. It's about $16,000 to get new cheer mats for our organization. And with new cheer mats comes the disposal of old cheer mats. And where did they still had some life in them. And having had Soph do LMS cheer, I knew LMS did not have mats. They often go to the high school to use the high school mats. And so the thought was, if we're getting rid of these anyway, can we give them to a school that can find a few more years of use out of them until they're ready to either purchase their own. It does sound like the LMS cheer team is a lot bigger than it's been in the past few years. So the Londonderry Blue Lions was happy to do that. They coordinated transportation, and I think, mats have been delivered.
Yep. So we have them all stored, and they're really big and heavy, so I hope you accept this donation.
They're ginormous. They are.
Yeah.
They're really big. I think they're
but-
7 feet by 42 feet, and we donated 8 of them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're very large, but you need 7 for a cheer comp. They have 8, so they have one to play with. If something happens to one, you can throw one out. But
And we want to thank you, Heidi, and thank you,
Happy
Blue
to do
Lions
it.
there for that. That was great. The Hudson Litchfield Bears also thank you, because they'll probably end up using them. They come in and use our facilities
absolutely
as well. So they want to say thank you as
Happy to
well.
help.
And we're happy to accept those. So.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. And that's it for me.
All right, moving on to business operations, BA report, Ms. Starling.
All right. Everything has been updated in the financials and transfers. I don't have any transfers today over the limit to ask permission for. With regard to, I want to give an update on the Griffin plumbing issue. We did have an estimate from Ham Septic, who we've been working with for a very long time, to replace the pump as well as 4 float switches, which I think you may have mentioned, Mr. Shoemaker, at the last meeting, right? So we are going to go ahead, we are going to move forward with that estimate, as we have had a relationship with them, and obviously we really want to get this work done sooner rather than later. So the items are on order, so it is going to be a little bit of lag time there, but we anticipate getting that work done fairly soon. Dave Ross has been amazing. I mean, he is still continuing to manually pump the system.
I don't even want to know what that entails.
Yeah. He's doing an amazing job going above and beyond to make sure that Griffin is functioning the way it needs to. So we'll be happy when we can get that taken care of. Also wanted to do another update on the fire alarm monitoring. I was able to talk to Chief Nickel actually at an emergency management meeting, and he had mentioned that this was something, as far as the fee that they're talking about charging for us, that I guess Kim Kleiner is actually working with the Hudson Town Administrator to see if that's something that they could work out that maybe we wouldn't have to pay those fees. So we haven't received an invoice at this point, it's just the letter. The one thing that Chief Nickel was able to clarify for me, which was helpful, is that there's 3 different fees at the bottom of the letter, and we'd actually only be responsible for one of them. It's the digital dialer fee, which is $150 per school. So that's certainly better than the $1,000 that we thought it was going to be if we end up having to pay. And then as far as the Pennachuck hydrants, again, we thought that we had 4 hydrants that we were responsible. And talking to Kim Kleiner, she did confirm with me that it is just the 1 hydrant at Campbell. The other hydrant at Campbell, as well as the other 2, are covered under the town. So we only would need to look for doing the testing and some of the maintenance for the 1 hydrant, which is helpful. Solar update. We do have, there was one more item that needed to get taken care of. They weren't able to come over and do that. They need to be able to shut off the system to be able to test it. So we obviously can't have students in the building at that time. So they are coming this Saturday to do that work.
6 a.m.
Who's KW Management?
KW Management is the commissioning, the other company that Kay is working with. So Dynamic Grid and KW Management are working together to get all the information collected to send off to Eversource.
So I just want to make sure that what was reported to you is that critical information from the commissioning agent wasn't received from KW Management.
Okay, so the commissioning agent had to give the information to KW. KW Management has been doing like the testing, and that's why they weren't able to do the testing when they were here earlier in the year, because there was too much snow on the roof. They had to go up and do that.
I just want to make sure that this was not, the transfer of information from the commissioning agent to KW Management did not have to go through K, did it?
No, but Kay needs to receive the information from KW Management and the commissioning agent in order to submit the report to Eversource.
I'm just trying to make sure that we're not burying the lead on K, dropping the ball on something else. So.
Yep, no, I can understand that.
Andrew's throwing stuff at the TV right now.
Is he watching?
Oh, I don't know. I'm guessing. I mean,
yeah.
show of hands.
He's
How many
supposed to be in
people think
training,
Andrew
so.
is?
He's probably not watching, but when he does rewind.
When he does.
I was gonna say, if he's in an evening training, like there's probably after hours that go with that training.
All I can say is I hope by Saturday, I hope that by the next meeting you can say it's done so that you don't have to hear from him.
So did they put the new meter on, or is that what they're gonna do on Saturday?
So no, the meter doesn't come until Eversource has received the report,
Okay.
approved it. They have to do their own testing.
They have 10 days to put.
But they have
They have
10 days
to
to
get
it.
it, yes.
But
Do their
that
testing.
clock hasn't started yet because they don't
Correct.
have the information they need
Correct.
yet.
A delay?
Shocking.
I feel like the sun's going to burn out before the solar project's done. Anyway, sorry. Anything
No,
else?
that's all I had.
Wow. Any questions from the board for Ms. Darling?
Who is Kay? All right, I opened
You're
up
coming in
Pandora's
way late.
box.
There's the worms.
So she owns Dynamic Grid.
Okay.
Yes.
They are the company that is in charge of the solar project and that continue to tell us when it'll be ready. And then continue to
tell
tell
us-
us why it's
I-
not ready.
Yeah.
The source of my swear jar.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Curriculum, instruction and assessment. We're
Alright.
moving on to Miss Taylor. Dr. Taylor, sorry, my
That's
bad.
okay.
No, I want to get it right. I had Director of the Year and then Dr. Taylor, right.
So just a quick update for tonight. We had the March 11th PD day, and that was a building-based day, unlike the January days where we did a lot of district things. They did some work in their buildings at GMS. I actually did a U-Fly half-day training for the new Foundations Literacy Program with all K through 2 teachers, all special ed teachers, and paras, and that was a wonderful kickoff to rolling out that new program. And then while we were doing that, grades 3 and 4 did some New Hampshire SAS preparations, because that is coming down the pike pretty soon. And then in the afternoon, they did some vertical and grade level curriculum work, which went really well. LMS did some vertical teamwork looking at assessments and critiquing for DOK, which was great. And then in the afternoon, the whole staff met going over tier 2 and tier 3 interventions and looking at how to do different supports in those different tiered levels. And then the high school, they did some collaboration in teams with case managers and support staff, talking about roles and differentiations between who offers what kinds of supports. And then they did some whole group and breakouts of AI in instruction and how AI comes into play, because it's definitely a hot topic right now. So the March 11th day went very, very well for everyone, and it was a great time. We need more professional development time. So we squeeze out everything we can for those. And then the next thing I wanted to bring is just an update on vertical alignment. You know, that's a major focus right now that we've been working through. And I've met with all of the math, science, social studies, and ELA groups. Tomorrow I meet with art, and then UAs are starting to come. Phys ed is next week, and then I have music next month, and then we'll do tech ed and all of those, meeting with all of those UA groups as well. And as I'm meeting with UAs in those vertical days, I've now started going in my CIA meetings at GMS. I go to grade level meetings every month. We're starting to, we had to pick a focus area for elementary because they're generalists. They teach all of the subjects. So we're starting with math, and then I'll be working at LMS with each of the departments, and then CHS also the PLCs in every content area. We're looking at continuing to break down standards. We're going to do priority standards. We're going to revise competencies, and then our final step will be we'll do priority standards, and then we'll do our curriculum templates, which we showed you a version of a while ago, the curriculum template. It's the UBD template, but I adjusted it a little bit. Those will start to come out next year. This is going to be a very slow, systematic, but very methodical process in making sure that we have consistency in all subject areas, and we establish that through line. It's very exciting work. We have our foot on the gas, but we're not flooring it. We're going to make sure that it is done in a way that makes everybody really fully understand exactly what students should know and be able to do by the end of each grade level, and that we have that nice, consistent, we're building on students' knowledge pre-K to grade 12. So it's exciting work. It's a lot of work. I'm excited for it, though. We're rolling.
I really got to see at the Learning Outcomes Task Force, what you're doing with vertical alignment, like in practice, and it's incredible. I mean, the amount of work you're doing is unbelievable. I can't believe that you're able to get everything done that you get done. But more importantly, you're getting great participation and great buy-in. It's not just people. I mean, those rooms previously there was no one in them attending these meetings. Now there's people not only attending the meetings, but they are actively participating. They're engaged. You're working towards, and you're pushing them outside their comfort zone, and they're responding positively to that. I mean, it's just fantastic. So,
thank you.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Yeah, I know the Learning Outcomes Task Force has 22 members.
The room was full, and you said that was not even like
that was our least attended because circumstances arise. But yeah, we have a lot of really good participation in. The work is really good, so.
And a lot of really good candy.
I do put out a lot of candy.
I'm aware of the candies.
I do. All the tables are full of candy because you need sugar.
Excellent.
But thank you for that, yes.
Any other questions?
No.
All right, I will entertain a motion regarding our March 5th public minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, Dan, it's your first second. Okay.
And then he's going to abstain on the vote.
Yeah, well done. All right, all those in favor of approving the March 5th minutes, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstain?
One.
That passes 3-0-1. And then we will move into new business, FIC operations discussion, and then we have our governing articles. So
New business, that's like the oldest business. in the
seriously, maybe this should not be
No,
under
it's not
new
the
business.
oldest. Solar.
I don't know. GMS has been brewing for 100 years. So it's kind of interesting because we're basically reporting to you, Heidi, because the rest of us were there.
I haven't had a chance to watch this one yet. This was last night's.
Yeah, it was a doozy. It was lively discussion.
I actually felt like we were getting somewhere.
I personally, people in the committee roll their eyes quite routinely at varying points. I personally feel like we are consistently making progress. Like I really, truly do. I think
since the new year.
I feel like it's been more effective since the new year, and I think yesterday the conversation was not a language barrier, but a definition barrier.
Yeah, it was semantics.
Because there's a lot of, I think they're saying the same exact thing. Just a
So
different
what
way.
we're kind of honing in on is we're honing in on the idea that we've done a lot of work to sort of identify what we think the remaining options are. We've done a lot of work to identify what we think some of the criteria should be.
Right.
Obviously we have the on-site insight report, which details like, hey, here's all the millions of messes that you have. But also we started to talk about education-wise. At the last meeting prior to that, we had Kyle Barker come. And as I promised, it would be focused on just helping us understand a redistribution option. One thing that came from that, which really doesn't just apply to redistribution, was the idea that it's really critical that we, the district, provide the educational specs that we're looking for out of them. Because ultimately, if we don't provide clarity with that, they are going to have to try to guess at what we want, and they're not going to be able to deliver well. And he said that in looking back at what the process he's gone through with our district, that was one of probably the biggest pitfalls, was that it wasn't really well
It's more about
defined.
the design or the
Right.
functionality than
Right.
the educational piece.
Yeah.
So, and I think, so from that, and I was remote that day, but from that, Kyle, really stressed, this needs to be a lockstep. This isn't, here's what I want, go do it. This is, a build upon, what do you think you need, and let's further define what that needs to be.
Okay.
So we have great people. Dan being one of them. Dan has a really good background in this. We have people. Carrie Douglas has a construction background. She's on that committee. Joe has a similar background.
Yep.
So we have a lot of people who really have a lot of knowledge. But we have to be careful as a town to not try to base all of our decisions on just a few people that have knowledge. Like we have to know when the right time is to go seek out true paid professional knowledge, and I think that's really where the committee is coming to. We don't have a formal recommendation right now because we ran out of time, but I think what we're leaning towards is it's going to either be a recommendation to engage an engineer to help us do some exploration on here's our list, which we would have to sit down as a board to discuss our list of priorities and deliver that list of priorities, being careful not to have them guiding solutions. Just we want you to kind of feed us potential solutions.
Okay.
And the hope would be that they would be able to provide us with, if we were to do everything for you, this is what it would look like. And then we would want them to break the sort of pieces of priorities down as well, so that way we could look at it and say, if we as a board don't think that that's going to be palatable to the town, what could we either remove or maybe postpone or whatever, for tiered implementation. So yeah, it's getting somewhere. We're getting really close, and I think that the next meeting we will be coming to the board with some sort of directive as to putting out an RFP.
Oh, the FIC doesn't meet until
After our next meeting.
I'm sorry, so-
this board's next meeting, so it'll be
Sorry,
it'll be the
after our
second meeting in April.
After the next FIC meeting is what I was.
Right, which is April 10th.
10th.
Is that what I
Yeah, we're trying to
heard you
get
guys say?
off of the schedule of having it the same week as school board.
That's smart. Yeah, that's a lot of
That's
time
a
away
lot,
from
yeah.
home.
So-
Okay.
So,
What are
governing
your thoughts with the
articles-
governing? Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. We haven't really discussed this. I think Dan Mitchell probably passed these along because he's the one that compiled them all as we discussed
Sure.
them. We definitely have stuff that we need to button up with that. I don't know. Maybe we'll make that part of the next. Depending on, I don't think we're gonna have a full. I don't think we'll have a full discussion, a full agenda's worth for the next FIC meeting. So I know the FIC really was saying this probably should be a school board.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is the last time that this was brought up was that the vast majority of the FIC came back with, this is really should be a school board thing to pass down.
Which I understand that thought process because, you know, it is a subcommittee of the school board, and so the directive, on the one hand, should come down, but on the other hand, I do really value the opinion of those on the FIC who have had these meetings, you know, consistently for almost a year now, and so what's working and what isn't, what needs to be tweaked. I mean, maybe it wouldn't necessarily be complete recommendations or voted on recommendations, but I would put it out there to say that if there are changes that are recommended by members of the FIC, I don't know, maybe one of you guys could be the point person to solicit those or
Yeah,
I think it needs to be, the meeting itself needs to be tightened up because it can get a little unwieldy.
Yeah,
And I think, you know, we have a pretty good group of folks that are there consistently. I mean, when it started, I think there were 17 or 18 people that signed up. I think the other night we had maybe 12 or 15 with those folks that were
From what I
remote.
watch and what I can see, for the most part, it seems to be between 10 and 12, right?
Right, and it's a pretty consistent group. So we may need to come up with a number and say, okay, these folks, you know, this administration stuff, not that they don't count, but they don't count for the
Right.
group,
Yeah.
and have a number. And I don't know that at some point we shouldn't allow people to offer public input.
Yeah, public comment.
You know what I mean? People who aren't part of the committee who may watch and want to offer something up, that kind of thing. Almost like
Yeah, we could absolutely.
a real, almost like this board runs, but not quite as tight or as long.
Well, it's kind of like planning board is a subcommittee of the select board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it's not its own committee, people aren't elected to it, right?
No, right,
It's-
they're appointed to the.
They're
board.
appointed, so but they do public comment and they, you know.
Yeah.
I do want to just, you know, quickly respond to, like, I agree that it does get a little.
And I think that's
it's a little
good, by
wild.
the way. For the most part, it's good.
Yeah.
Occasionally it
There's-
becomes a
we
little
do
much.
try we do try to rein it in. I mean, I say we, but it won't be we anymore. But you know, we do try to rein it in. I try to be very, very careful about looking as though I don't want it to be perceived that I'm silencing people who have
Squashing
differing
conversation.
views, right? So we try it, which is, you know, candidly does become difficult because there are, you know, people in the committee who have opposing views who get worn down. We've, you know, come close to losing some members because they just feel like it's sometimes repetitive. But we're trying to balance that, so.
Yeah.
We can always tighten that up.
If I may, regarding this, if this is okay with the board, just thinking of timelines here, and I know this is something that the committee wanted to look at. Maybe we can draft some suggestions of changes here. You know, between myself and Dan and Jen and Jake, some combination of all of us is always at these meetings, right? So maybe we can take an attempt to make some updates to this document, bring that to the next board meeting, which would be before the next FIC meeting, gather feedback from the board, bring that to the FIC committee as part of their agenda on the 10th, get feedback from them, come back to the board that next week, and maybe then kind of approve something. You can have a final say on that if that works.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Awesome.
And I'm happy to help, you know, jump on a call
Cool.
or meet you.
Yeah.
All right, anything else from FIC?
No.
The only comment I would like to make is, like, I think we need one more meeting to come together with a majority recommendation to the school board.
And just be clear, that recommendation is not going to be go build this, right?
Right.
It's going to be
Look down this road.
right.
Right.
Go find someone professional who can look down this road.
Yeah, I really, like, we were almost there, and then it was 7:30, and I was like, all right, I've been like out of my house for 17 hours now. It's time to go home.
Yep. So, anyways, that's it.
Well, that's positive progress anyway.
We're getting somewhere.
All right. Policy updates. There are none at this time. No second reads, no first reads. We're going back to old business. It appears there's none at this time. So that brings us into school board comments for the evening.
Thank you for being willing to continue to serve as vice chair. Thank you, Andrew, if you do watch it, when you do watch this, for continuing to serve as chair and for continuing on the budget committee, because that's brutal.
Just for like that 12-week period.
So just like a quarter of the year,
Every day.
right?
I do feel like we continue to make incredible progress as a board, and I'm proud of the work we're doing, and I really enjoy working alongside you guys, and I'm excited to have Dan here. I think Dan's gonna be a great addition. So
thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Good
And
to see
Tina,
Jen here.
we miss you. In case you ever watch one of these.
I think she's in Disney this week. But I don't
So
know.
that's my only comment.
Rough place to be.
I know, right?
Manifest was all set, right?
Yeah, I had 3 on it. Any other school board comments? I'll open it up for our last community input for the night. I will close our last community input for the night. And then we are prepared to go into non-public session, RSA 91-A:3. I believe we're going in under A, which is the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee. The hiring of an employee, and then perhaps C as well. Is that right? Matters.
Yes.
If discussed in public, would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person.
Make a motion to enter non-public.
Motion.
Second.
Well, this is going to be a roll call vote. Peter.
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So thank you for attending. The next meeting, you'll have Andrew back at the helm. Our next meeting is April 2nd. Does that sound right?
It
I believe it's April 2nd.
Yeah, that's correct.
And thanks very much, and everyone have a good night.
Thanks, Nick.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you, Nick.
We're already there.
I know, but